Hello, Mike here with Intelligent Controls. Today I have a very special video for you. Pylontech has just introduced their new energy storage cabinet. This thing is IP55 rated and we are quite excited for it. We are the first people in the United States to get our hands on these. They just came off the boat and I would love the opportunity to give you guys the walk around of this new piece of gear. Very well constructed, has no seams on all of your exterior corners. This is not a flat pack cabinet, this is one solid piece of metal. The door has a very nice graphic that is not actually a shadow, that is on the cabinet itself, and it has a locking handle. We have all the way around a very nice rubber gasket. The door lockup itself is both top and bottom, and that gives us a lot more pressure pulling that gasket into the rest of the cabinet and giving us a very nice solid seal. Down here at the bottom you can see we have holes drilled all the way along this door, and that is going to allow any condensation that might build up on the inside of this thing to drip down and out instead of pooling inside of the container itself. Alright, so now let's talk about the true internals of this cabinet. We're going to speak about these moving from top to bottom. First thing that's going to catch your eye when looking in here is this big disconnect switch. This is a 250 amp disconnect switch. This is very nice. It allows us, if we have multiple cabinets set up, to work on one cabinet, disconnect it from all the rest while leaving the rest of them running so that we can do our maintenance inside of the cabinet itself. Right here, we have a 48 volt DC powered fan that exhausts right out here. I will show you that on the outside here in a bit. This is powered over here by a 41 degrees Celsius activated snap disc thermal control. So that is going to allow that to automatically turn on at 41 degrees Celsius and begin venting the box itself. Finally, that terminates over here in our little ring terminals right there that are going to hook onto these lugs. In here we have our setup of end run cables going to the batteries, isolated by the switch, and then out to the inverter. We have two sets of two. These are each rated for 120 amps apiece, which gives us a total amperage rating at 48 volts for 240 amps of power coming in and out. Combine that with the fact that this will take 4 Pylontech US5000 batteries, and that is right in what I would consider the sweet spot for our oversizing our system compared to our end run capacity. Over here we have a battery to battery communication cable. This is going to allow us to parallel the batteries up here with the batteries down here in that communication string. Off here to the left, we have our battery to inverter communication cable. If we are doing an install where we're hooking up in closed loop configuration, which is what we would recommend with Pylontech batteries anyhow, this is going to connect to that master battery and then go outside of the box to our inverter. If we're using a Victron setup with this, we're going to be using that Victron BMS Type A cable instead. Now, over here on this side, we have some paralleled connectors. So these are just longer versions of those shorty connectors that default come with every single battery. This allows us to put in parallel our connection, our two batteries up here and our two batteries down there. The door is locking. This is where you're going to find your keys to go ahead and lock this cabinet, which is a nice feature to keep kids or incredibly dexterous cats outside of this box. Now, here we have our mounting points for our batteries. We got 2 up here and then 2 down here. And what these allow us to do is mount the batteries in a vertical configuration. So you do a battery here and a battery here, a battery here and a battery here. This is a very, very solid setup right here. It is fully bolted into the cabinet itself. We have a shelf separating our batteries. This is, once again, very securely bolted in. They've actually done us the favor of marking where these screws are connected. This way we can see if there's any vibration that's causing these screws to come loose. This also comes with some hardware that is going to allow us to put a bar from here to here and from here to here, just making extra certain that those batteries are kept inside. Say you live in an earthquake prone area, that's going to allow you to make sure that these are not going to fall out once you open up this door should something have happened in the middle of the night. Now as we move further down, we're going to come to this bottom bay. Now in this bottom bay we have an intake vent right here that has some nice mesh over it, so no critters are going to get in there, and since it's on the bottom of this cabinet we're not going to be worried about allowing any moisture in through this vent. That allows our vent to go up and out, creates a nice flow through the cabinet itself to make sure that everything stays cool on those warm days down, say, in Arizona. Now, each of these bolts down here at the bottom of this cabinet has silicone around everything, and if I actually feel on the underside, there's silicone on the ends of those bolts themselves, which means that that silicone was applied before putting our screws in. That's going to give us a very nice watertight seal. Finally, we have a grounding lug going from here to here on the door, and that is once again another very nice feature. Here on the outside, we have that exhaust vent behind that fan. This will pull forward, as we can see here. We can take a look at the fan as we have it inside of there. There is, once again, more material that's giving us an air permeable barrier so that bugs or anything, little critters wise, does not get inside of there and get chopped up by that fan. This whole vent will then be covered up by this right here that's going to mount into those holes. And this is pretty nice. It's got a little finger trap underneath here so you can't really get in and around and access that vent. And that is going to prevent moisture from running down into the back box through that vent once it is sealed up like that. Here on the top back of this cabinet, we have our holes for mounting our hardware. These holes do not go all the way through the back of the cabinet. They actually terminate just before going out the other end, so that once again leaves these as entirely waterproof. And the hardware for mounting this, say to a wall, comes along with the cabinet. We've got our lugs that are going to stick up, and then we got some big concrete bolts that are going to allow us to securely attach this to a wall. So now let's talk briefly about one of the batteries, say, that we would put in this cabinet. Right here we have a US5000, also from Pylontech. We can fit 4 of these in this cabinet. That is going to give us a total of 19.2 kilowatt hours of power, because this is a 4.8 kilowatt hour battery. The way that we are going to put this in is by picking it up and then putting it vertically on these mounting tabs. So let's do that here. So there we have it in the position that it would sit should it have another battery behind it. As we can see, it is just hanging on the pre-installed mounting tabs. We have our holes for our screws right here, and there are actually nice threads in there so we can positively lock this down. It is not actually sitting here on top of this, but that shelf is there for extra safety measure. Should something fail, like say these mounting brackets here, you're not going to have the whole thing collapse down. The mounting lugs that it is mounting on actually come with the batteries themselves. They are attached to the sides of this battery, so there's nothing extra that needs to be done there. We would go one more behind this and then do the exact same configuration down below to get a total of 4 batteries inside of this cabinet. Now, I know that one topic that is probably going to come up is, well, why aren't they stacked horizontally? What this allows us to do is maintain a slightly thinner profile, allowing this to fit nicely in a residential setting without jutting out pretty far from the wall, while also giving us enough room to easily and conveniently route all of our cabling. So here, in this vertical configuration, it is nice, easy, and convenient to make our battery-to-battery connections while also making our CAN bus connections either out to the outside of the cabinet to the inverter, or in between the batteries in their parallel communication string between link port 1 and 0. Now, one thing that you've probably noticed is that there are no holes on the outside of this battery cabinet. And that is because Pylontech has made the decision to allow us to go ahead and decide where we want to route our cables outside of this cabinet. We would just pick anywhere in here that is not immediately ingressing on any internal mounted hardware. Say right here off the side would be a good spot, and then we would just drill our holes and toss in our cable seals, allowing us to customize where our end runs and our communication cables exit this cabinet. So overall, I think the IP55 rated cabinet is an awesome addition to Pylontech's line of accessories for their US series batteries. We no longer have to lock them away inside of a closet. These could actually sit out in the living room. It's not a bad looking unit, and it's going to protect us from the prying fingers of small children or pets. If we would like to install this on the outside, say we live in a much warmer climate where we're not going to be worried about the batteries hitting the lower end of their temperature threshold, then this could easily allow us to install these batteries out on a patio. With that exhaust fan, we're not going to be hitting the upper limits of the temperature ranges of these batteries, and that nice rubber gasket and the IP55 rating is going to allow us to not be worried about inclement weather getting our batteries wet. If you would like to learn more about them, or you're the type of person that prefers to read through things at a leisurely pace, please check out the link to our blog, which we are going to be writing on these cabinets down below in this video. This is going to include all of the technical specs as well as some nice high quality photos of every single one of these components. Thanks for watching this video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.